Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. My dear audience all over the world, I greet you with the best greeting that ever known to humanity. It's the greeting of peace. Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is your host, Mahmouh Mohamed, talking about something that will cheer you up, talking about something that's so essential for every Muslim, how to learn Arabic effectively. It's a topic that a lot of audience wanted to watch, and here you go. First, as a reminder for all of us, we should remember the verses of the Quran that talks about this importance of Arabic language. And the first importance of Arabic language is that it helps the person who understands Arabic to understand the Quran, the only speech of Allah that's available on the earth. This is the magnitude and the value and the importance of Arabic language. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Yusuf, chapter number 12, ayah number 2, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إنا أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم تعقلون. Verily, we sent it down an Arabic Quran. We sent down an Arabic Quran, a Quran in the language of Arabic, so that you would better understand the Quran, so that you can understand the Quran in a better way. In other words, it tells us you can understand the Quran in other ways, but not at the same level of understanding it when you perfect, when you know the language that the Quran was revealed to Muhammad in, and it is Arabic. Some of the ways, some of the tips that can help a person learn Arabic by himself or herself, or at school, or even you can guide your tutor or your teacher to the way that you want to learn Arabic. First of all, anyone who learns a language or learns any subject should specify the goal of learning that language. Is the goal here the conversational Arabic? Or is the goal here specific type of Arabic, like Arabic, as they call it, Quranic Arabic, Arabic that helps people understand the Quran, or Arabic for other purposes? I think as a Muslim, as an average Muslim, I would advise every Muslim to learn Arabic for the sake of understanding the Quran first, then he or she can add other goals down the road, or after he or she finishes the first goal, which is learning Arabic for Quranic purposes or for understanding the Quran, which means the Quran and the traditions and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Specifying the goal is very important because you have a specific time. There is a specific time that you are going to spend on this issue. You are going to exert an effort in this issue, regardless what the time that you specify is, but you have to know it. Is it 20 hours? Is it 100 hours? Is it 200 hours? Whatever number of hours you are going to decide, based on it, you're going to get the benefit. In other words, if you are going to learn military Arabic, most of the vocabulary that you need to learn before learning other vocabulary is the military terms. If your focus is on medical Arabic, so you need to know all the terms that are related to medicine and surgeries and all the things that are needed in this field. In this way, you save your time and you use it effectively by learning these words in that field. Now, if our case is learning Arabic to understand the Quran, this means that most of the vocabulary, most of the themes, most of the topics should be related to the commonly used words, vocabulary, and themes and topics of the Quran. And as we know, there are three themes in the Quran. One of them is about the oneness of Allah, which includes all the attributes and the beautiful names of Allah. And the second is about the do's and don'ts, the halal and the haram, the legal and the illegal issues from the Islamic perspective. And thirdly is the stories of the messengers and the stories of the previous nations and the stories that will take place in the future, as the description of the people in paradise and the description of the people in hellfire as well. So now let's think of using the vocabulary that talks about these issues. This would be the main priority because these themes recur and come frequently in the Quran. And in this way, we can save our time. Now, let's get into the technicalities of the matter. Let's first ask ourselves, what is the most important element in the language? Of course, understanding is the key word in understanding any language. Without comprehension, without understanding, there is no learning. Any other thing is considered a waste of time. Focusing heavily on the sounds in the beginning is considered relatively as a waste of time. Focusing heavily on the artistic writing of the letters is considered from this perspective a waste of time. Why? Because there is no element of understanding or comprehension in it. If we can add this dimension to these two skills, the writing and the listening, that would be great. Without having this dimension in them, I think it is some sort of a waste of time. In other words, we can use this time more effectively if our focus shifts from the letters and from the sounds to the words. Scholars say learning a word is much better and much more important than learning to perfect the sounds or the letters. This is not only an advice to the teachers, but advice to parents and self-learners as well. And you could not only apply this to Arabic language, but you can apply it to any other language if your focus is that language. So the word is better than the letters, and it is the most important element in learning the language. It is not the group of letters, but it is the word. And when we say the word here, we definitely refer to a meaningful word. People do not communicate by just putting letters beside each other, but when they put a word, they say a word, they start communicating. Then let's move from the word to the sentence. Scholars say sentences are more important than words, because when you communicate with any human being or group of human beings, you communicate in sentences and phrases. You don't communicate in words. Sometimes the words is a mean or are a mean to communicate. Sometimes when you are asked a question, your response may be only one word, but this word in its essence represents a whole sentence that's summed up in this word. For example, if I ask you this question, did you travel yesterday to Athens or to Mecca? Your answer would be yes, which means you answered by a word. By this word sums up the full answer, which is yes, I traveled to Mecca yesterday. So here, although you are communicating by one word, however, it implies a whole sentence. So what I want to say here is that learning a word in a sentence is better than learning a word by itself. Just memorizing a list of words or a list of vocabulary may not help a lot. And this is an advice for those who learn the Quran word by word. I would say this would be as an elementary level or a basic level, but you need to move from the level of the word to a higher level, which is the level of a sentence. So let me sum up these two steps here, or two stages in learning the language. Is the first one is learning as many vocabulary as you can, but you learn them in sentences. By learning it in a sentence is very essential, and in this way you can understand the whole sentence. Then let's take this advice further ahead. A step ahead when we say, instead of learning this word in just a normal, a daily life sentence, it's much better to learn it in an Islamic context. More specifically, if you learn it in a Quranic context. If you're learning the word alim, which means all-knowing, the one who knows all, which is a reference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you know alim is all-knowing. And instead of saying a sentence like, this person was alim in all aspects or in some aspects of the matter, you'd better learn it in a Quranic context. Inna Allah alimun hakim. Indeed, Allah is the all-knowing and all-wise. And why is this? Because the chances of listening to this word being repeated in the Quran in many places is higher than listening to this word in daily life. Therefore, when you learn it in a Quranic context, it's much better and more effective. So now we are moving from a word to a sentence to more specifically a Quranic ayah. Brothers and sisters, let's take a break and come back to enjoy continuing listening to this interesting topic. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Dr. Bilal Phillips, and you're watching Peace TV.
A messenger of God, a man of faith, who lived by courage and ruled by justice. He genuinely cared and taught the truth. His words are God-inspired. If we are seeking wisdom, we have indeed come to the right man. To learn more about his teachings, join me, Yasser Fazaga, in Distilled Wisdom, only on Peace TV.
Imbibe the power of wisdom, aptly avoiding evil, choosing good. Join Yasser Fazaga in Distilled Wisdom, next on Peace TV.
Dear audience, welcome back to the show. The topic is tips to learn Arabic or how to learn Arabic effectively. I ended up saying that learning a word is more important and takes the priority of understanding. Let's take it one step ahead, further. After learning the word in a Quranic ayah, in an ayah, in a linguistic context, whether it's from the Quran or not, now you need to learn the same word in another context, because learning the word in different contexts reinforces the meaning into the brain, and it gives it the possibility of maintaining it for longer times. For example, the word alim, we said that Inna Allaha alimun hakim. Now we know it in that context. Now you can learn it in another context that almost has the same meaning. Kana Allahu aliman hakiman. So now we learn it in two different contexts. If you can learn it in a third context, that would be much, much better, and the opportunity of maintaining it is higher than learning it in two or one context. This is the first step. So a word, a sentence is better than a word. A Quranic sentence is better than an average or a daily life sentence. If your focus is in learning the Quran, then learning the word in different contexts is very important. And you need to reinforce this process. And this is why you need to select some material from the internet. For example, the program that's called Reciter, this website, reciter.org or reciter.com, it has a program that teaches you, whether it's called teach you the Quran or Quranic Arabic, it serves both ways, and you can help. You can listen to these sentences, these ayat many times, and by doing this, you can focus on the meaning and you reinforce the meaning in your brain. So when you have the opportunity to recite the Quran by yourself or to listen to the Quran recited by someone else, you are learning these words. Now, After that, there are other important things. If you learn a word and you learn it in a context, you'd better learn this word with its opposite if it has an opposite. For example, if you learn the word al-layl, you'd better learn the word an-nahar at the same time, because knowing the two words which usually come after each other, especially in the Quran. For example, إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ. You will find these words are coming after each other, so it saves you time when you learn the word and its opposite, whether it's a noun and its opposite, or an adjective and its opposite. So this is one way of learning better than. So it's much better not to delay learning the opposite at another time, but you learn it at the time when you learn it, this vocabulary, if it has an opposite. By the same token, it's also very essential and important. If you learn the word and its opposite, you can learn the word and its synonym, especially at little bit advanced times. If you learn, for example, the word bayt, you learn the word manzil, or you learn the word dar at the same time, because they are of the same meaning. And here comes the importance of two issues. Comes the importance of developing your own flashcards if the text or the material that you are using does not provide you with these flashcards. You can do your own flashcards when you design a flashcard by using the word and this word in a sentence, and you will find beneath it, you will find the word and a synonym of it, or the word with its opposite. Another thing that you can add, especially in learning Arabic, because this may not apply to other languages. For example, when you learn English, you don't need to learn the plural because most of the plural is regular. So when you say book, books, so you don't need to add s to each one because you know the rule. You don't need to write books beside book because the rule is very common. It's applicable to almost the majority of the words in English. But this is not the case when you're dealing with Arabic. Arabic is, you can call it the plural of Arabic, is so diverse, and you need to put a lot of effort into the plural. And that's why you need to write the word and to write the plural, because most of the plurals in Arabic language is irregular, or they call it broken plural. So you can put the word bayt and beside it buyut, or manzil, manazil. And in this way, you can get the word and its plural at the same time. If you put it on a flashcard, you need to put the translation of the main word on the back of the flashcard, because this reinforces the meaning. Whenever you are in doubt of the meaning, you look at the card. If you are in doubt, if you don't understand the meaning when you read the word itself, look at the sentence. If you understand the word from the sentence, that's fine. If not, you go to the second level, which is understanding the word from its opposite, if you can do that. Or finally, if you don't understand the meaning of the word, you need to go back to flip the card to see the translation of the word. Now, if the word is a verb, you need to put the verb into the right conjugation. And you have to understand that the conjugation of the verb in Arabic language is slightly different from other languages. In Arabic language, we start with the past, and then the present, and then the ing form, or the noun in Arabic language. And you have to, the only way to master this, as you do in learning English, by repeating it until it's recorded in your brain and in your ears. So whenever you hear it, you know the conjugation. And also it's better if you can find a book that would help you, that shows you this verb or this word in different forms in the Quran. This would be a very, very beneficial word. There are some books that are made specifically to teach the language in this way. One of them is a series of books called Arabic, A Bridge to Islamic Culture. It's basically designed to help you learn the language by yourself. Also, there are some of the ways, one of the tips of learning words, as you see in all these schools and classrooms, they just try to put all these words everywhere, wherever you go. One thing that you can do, if you're learning the names of the month, you can easily buy a calendar that has the names of the month of the Hijri calendar. And you use it in your office and at home and in the kitchen, and you stuck it in the refrigerator and put it in different locations so you would have more opportunities to see it and to use it. And use it when even in your talks, in your reservations, use the names of these months if you are reserving a ticket, if you are talking about an act that you want to do in a specific month. It's much better to focus and to use these months. You can also, we use it with kids, even with adults. You can put the names of the months around you in the room, sitting room, or in the study room, or around the computers. You keep it for some time, you practice it, and after that, you replace them by other important words like the names of the days of the week, As-Sabt, Al-Ahad, Al-Ithnain, and so on and so forth. But the issue here is that trying to be exposed to these words that are commonly used and frequently used in the Quran and in the traditions of the Prophet ﷺ, very frequently. You put them in different places so that whenever you need them, you find them. And at the same time, you try to use them. And at the same time, you listen to the Quranic verses or the selection of the ayat that would help you reinforce these specific words. And day after day, you will find the inventory of your vocabulary is increasing and your understanding of the ayat that you recite in your daily prayer would be increasing. And I advise you, you focus on the verses that are simple. It's not necessary to start learning the verses that are difficult, such as Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Nas. Surah An-Nas is easier than Surah Al-Falaq. And Surah Al-Fil is easier than both of them, simply because it tells a story. And it's easier for the brain to remember a story than to remember a verse that has no direct or linguistic or story connection between its items, its pieces. So learning stories, even if they are not at the end of the Quran, you can take the stories from different places in the Quran and learn them. Secondly, learning the vocabulary of the stories is much easier than learning other vocabularies of other ayat, simply because the language of stories is easier. That's why the vocabulary is easier. Secondly, the connection between the events in the story makes it easy to expect and to guess the meaning of a word in the context, in a story context. It makes it easy than expecting or guessing the meaning of a word in a separate Quranic verse. This is very advisable to start teaching your kids or you by yourself to select the verses that are related to stories and learn them before you learn other verses. And I tell you very openly, the verses that are in the last juz part of the Quran is much more difficult than the verses that come in longer chapters of the Quran, such as Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Imran. The language there is easier than the language in the 30th juz. I hope I would have a chance in the following episode to add more tips that would help us all to learn the Quran more effectively. Dear brothers and sisters, I hope you benefit from these tips. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Mahmouh Mohamed.